All right, you're live.
We are in the green room. All right, awesome.
Morning.
Listen, everybody, welcome to the green room. So excited this week. Listen, we have to have green rooms every week right now because I label it. Listen, I have Kara, the lovely Kara, with us today. And listen, my longest standing educator at this point. And listen, it's such a joy. And listen, the difference between Compassionate Cannabis Clinic and others, and I never throw spears at other clinics, but I do take the greatest in pride of my educational staff, and I have from the day we opened. Patty, of course, was the original educator, so I got to give a shout out to my lovely wife. But we do take pride that each and every patient we do make sure gets what they need when they come into the clinic. And Kara will tell you there's a million stories in the big city.
Absolutely.
We see them every day, and we take such joy in taking that person who's so afraid of even entering the cannabinoid space
or coming in.
Can't believe it.
No, they
right?
don't know. They don't know why they're here.
To that person who's literally in tears over the joy and finally being able to get their card, after so many years of kind of under the table. Listen, 420 behind us. We were laughing and talking as I walked into the room, and I asked Karen, because listen, one of the great things about having staff around me, and a man is only as good as those who surround him. Have Tiff behind the computer today as well. But I love the generational difference, and I always loved it when I was an ER doc too, working with my younger nurses. And I have a generation on Kara. My daughter just turned 40. I can't believe it. But I asked Kara what her story of 420 was, what it was, why 420. And of course, we've all heard various stories through the years. So my generation may have our story, Kara's generation may have hers, and I would suspect that those younger may have theirs. But what is the official Wikipedia story? Because let's actually get down to it.
So according to, this was in Time magazine, 1971,
reasonable source,
out in California, Marin County, California, at Raphael High School, a group of 5 guys get together after class every day at 420. And that just kind of started the legend. Now we all kind of know it. I think I heard it in songs first as a young person. So, it's made its generational impact for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is. Now it's kind of universal, Universal Cannabis Celebration Day. And I think, we've talked about it in every green room, and I think we'll talk about it in every green room up until the time of the legal adult use referendum, which is coming up in November. And listen, we're going to talk about it in a whole lot of derivations, but cannabis space is so different now than it was back then, and we know it's different now than it was 7 years ago, 8 years ago. We're in our 8th year, as we open up the clinic, and it's going to be different 7 years from now. And listen, as we go in, and what we're going to do, guys, at the end, and it's not hard, it's easy. What's going on 420? And it's not so much events, quite frankly, but the deals, the discounts, who's offering what, what's going on where.
Lots and lots and lots. And what I've seen a lot of places are doing right now is it's not just 420. You have the whole week leading up to it now. Well, so everybody gets to enjoy.
It's like Black Friday, Christmas season, and they're going to do that. But just on the social side, I wanted to start out just with an interesting thread that was on my Facebook physicians community thread. And it always, all kinds of different, this, that, whatever's. So these are doctors that are posting and doctors that are asking the questions. So if medical marijuana is legal in my state, can I, a patient, get a card? This is a doctor asking, in open form. Or since I'm a doctor with a DEA number, will I get flagged? Question mark. I'm glad Tiff's behind the computer there, because she'll let us know that there's no crossing right now between the registry, in Florida, and really anything else, So the DA is not going to get flagged because Dr. Berry has his license or his card. I'm just looking for weekend or vacation pain and insomnia relief. Would never the day before seeing a patient or near in any way, If it's okay, must I disclose to the doc prescribing that I'm a physician, or just not say anything about that? So the answers in this thread are just incredible.
The question itself is quite something.
Well, no, but it's a question that I think all citizens, as we go forward with the legal adult use campaign, right, and the vote to legalize the possession of cannabis, 3 ounces, everybody. We don't know exactly what that means. If it's 3 ounces a day, 3 ounces per dispensary, how they're going to track it, but that's in the constitutional amendment. 5 grams of concentrate. Okay. So that's the constitutional amendment, but it's everything else behind it. It's workplace. Some people don't want to go in anywhere where they're going to have the government know that they're purchasing cannabis.
Right.
But every state makes you show a driver's license at least. So we hear people coming in, we had a guy walk out last week over the paperwork, right? Tiff would want to go through the entire informed consent. They're not going to be going through an informed consent,
right?
Okay, in the legal adults. But my point is, it's going to open up all kinds of thises. Okay, who's allowed to, who's not allowed to, when can they test me, how can they test me? But it's the replies in here from physicians that are just incredible. Like a doctor here that's saying, okay, hang on. Okay. Marijuana is still federally illegal. It can affect your DEA and you can lose your ability to prescribe. Your employer could fire you. It's not recommended for insomnia. There are so many other medications you could use, like Rameltion. I don't even know what the hell that is. These are generic, seriously. So I don't know. I haven't written for any of these in so long. Mirtazapine, temazepam. Yeah, those are all great sleepers. CBT for insomnia is also effective. Any idea of that one? Anyway, don't ruin your life and kill your neurons with this toxic substance. Please make a better choice. You're smarter than this. Okay. Somebody else wrote down here. I love this one. Look at this. Deirdre. God, thank God I didn't go forward that whole name.
Yeah.
It would have been terrible.
Don't have a sensor back here, Doc.
Cannabis can be cognitively impairing for up to 30 days after last use. Steer clear with 7 likes.
And somebody asks for proof, and then there's no
proof. So Nick Patero, doctor here in Florida and friend of the show, he made a comment that was positive, of course. Well, here's my comment. Barry Gordon, and I'm out here, everybody see. I don't mind showing that it's me. You should feel 100% comfortable in obtaining your medical card. Do check on your specific employment contract, but there is no cross-referencing between the DEA and anybody's medical cannabis registry. And now, Karen, you've heard this 100 times, okay, but some may not have. In 2024, it's time to recognize that cannabis has always been a medicinal plant. It's not just the smoking of a Delta-9 THC joint, parentheses, a 1969. Why do I always go to 1969?
I know, it's a good year.
I was 13. It was a good year. A 1969 image of a quote-unquote drug of abuse, end parentheses. But the utilization of all, caps, going to my Trump, all of the cannabinoids, parentheses, CBD, CBC, CBG, many others, along with the THC in multiple routes. I go caps again, such as tinctures, edibles, vapes, and topicals. In this way, it has become a substance of great use for many. And this to me is the most important part about this particular thread, which of course can and should include medical professionals, doctors, nurses, paramedics, all first responders. Absolutely. And should include medical professionals who deserve, caps again, who deserve this very safe and effective option. In Florida, at the medical board discipline level, we have been advised that it's about recognized impairment and danger to patients, which is just not seen with responsible cannabis usage. I hope this helps, and I hope you obtain your card. Big caps again, plus the education about the endocannabinoid system and cannabis is medicine that should go with it.
Boom.
And I do believe that, everybody. Listen, I've said this for years when I've had physicians come in to get their cards, and we have many nurses that come in to get their cards at some degree of risk. Sarasota Memorial Hospital, though, now having a policy that allows cannabis cannabis card holders, that was funny, to come in ready to go every day, ready to work, not showing impairment, and not be dependent upon a urine test, okay, at any time of their employment. Medical professionals are smarter than the average bear. They know what kills people.
Right.
They know it's alcohol every day,
Absolutely.
opiates way too often, depression and suicide.
Yeah, that's
right.
It's mental health. It's prescription drugs. It's absolutely alcohol. And
so I will admit I was pretty saucy about it, So I had a couple responses to mine. Barry Gordon, I totally agree with this, but it's still risky in my mind to get a card, like putting a target on myself, right? I'd rather play it safe until it's federally legal. No card for me. So even if it goes what's called federally legal, what is that? Are they going to reschedule into Schedule 3? Right? That doesn't take the criminality away. So if they would deschedule,
right. But and then after that, is it going to be up to the states? Who knows what Florida is going to look like versus what Georgia is going to look like, and so on and so forth, even after it goes on the federal level.
And then there's a gentleman, I thank him. I'll have to look up his Facebook profile. Barry Gordon, best answer. We as physicians are sometimes slow to adopt very effective treatments because other physicians look down on them very critically. Right. So, no, listen, that thread got me because it really did point out, where we're really at now in this transitional period of time.
Right.
And that's why each and every green room, we're going to try to remind everybody to really pay attention. Let's open up some of the deals. Do you have some of the deals written down? Let's talk about it because here's the point. We're going to have an unbelievable consumer market, going on in Florida as the years go by.
Absolutely.
Whether it's just within the medical system, as people are going to hear right now, or, once it transitions over to what I think will be obviously two sides to the dispensary world, a medical side over here, and then a legal adult use side over here. We don't know what that side's going to look like yet. And as we've heard in the last two green rooms, be it Gary Stein, and or Karen Goldstein, no matter how long you've been doing it, how deeply you're involved, nobody really knows, what's going to come out at the end of the sausage maker when it comes to legal adult use. But when it comes to medical here in Florida, everybody, unbelievable competition, in my opinion, right now, but between the MMTCs, there's plenty of them. And Kara's going to just let us know about some of the crazy deals that are going on, but compared to what's going on up north, listen, with taxes and with limited opportunities, I think in some of the other states, we have it pretty good down here in Florida, which is kind of unbelievable in light of the conservatism of the state. So what's going on 420?
So lots, like I said, a lot of dispensaries are starting early this week. So there's been a lot of day-to-day, so from what I can see, everybody's sort of doing a few events, for sale. So Certera, for example, if you're an edible user, $9 for 100 milligrams, $7.50 for chocolates, which is like crazy. Sunburn is doing 35% off the whole store.
Right.
One that I saw that I thought was pretty impressive because you don't see it a lot is True Leave is doing 25% off of their devices.
Okay.
So they're Dr. Dabbers, they're
people do wait for those to go
because those don't go on sale a lot, and those devices can really help patients have access to even more of the products that are out there. So that's look for that one, guys.
Listen, and that just once again points out the difference in the cannabis world of today versus what, many of our viewers may have remembered from their day. That is really one of the joys as we sit in the rooms with the patients, are really getting their visions of what they used to, utilize, what they know.
I have patients that are like, I have the same metal pipe I've been using since 1975.
That's crazy.
We need to come into the.
No, it's those ones that are put together with the nuts and the bolts, and and now you see Facebook, memes about that type of stuff. But it is true, and when you talk about the edibles, it's interesting, because we're still waiting to see what the governor's going to do. Everybody with the hemp bill, which to my knowledge hasn't yet been sent to his desk, kind of one of those procedural things up in Tallahassee. But as Kara will tell you, we exist in the world of the medical cannabis space, but there's a gray market that, of course, we're very well aware of.
So yeah, just know where you're shopping and
right. Those are all the hemp derived products. Be they, good, bad, or otherwise, surely stay out of the gas stations, everybody. There are, better smoke shops, of course, that have good CBD products that are labeled and tested and things like that. Pre-rolls are, we're not quite sure what they are, quite frankly, and which is one of the issues. I've always been for just a central state testing lab so that everybody knows what's coming in, because I think the COAs that are produced by those that sell the product, can be cut and pasted or whatever. But the point is that side of the space is really not as much of a flower side of the space as an edible side of the space.
Right.
What I've really learned, is that a lot of the edibles biz really is not necessarily MMTC connected, but really is CBD shop connected, and it'll be interesting to see what happens to that extent. And my feeling has always been that we need legitimate CBD purveyors with CBC and CBG and CBN and all those other minor cannabinoids, because I think that is, one of the things that the MMTCs don't necessarily focus on, But it is incredible. And what everybody needs to understand is that, as a patient, I know that as this day goes on, we'll each get things from
all
3,
day,
4, 5, 6 dispensaries. And that's a unique thing here in Florida. And one of the things that I think everybody needs to understand as we go through legal adult use, that we need to protect our medical program to the extent of making sure that they continue to produce products for the medical patient. Can you imagine, Kara, and you've heard me speak to this, if we can grow the program from 850,000, to 1.5 million during this campaign season. People say, how the hell are you going to do that? Everybody that's going to vote for the constitutional amendment, they're just waiting for, legal adult use. They just want to walk in without, any kind of card, any kind of this, any kind of that. And I say, well, I know what everybody wants, but I also know what my expectation would be from a very conservative Florida legislature. And listen, I should have pulled this too, and I didn't, but it's easy to find, but I don't need it. I read the Sarasota Memorial or the Sarasota Herald Tribune on Monday, and they had the poll results about medical cannabis, about legal adult use cannabis and the abortion issue as well, both of which, quite frankly, look to be not as solid as one may think towards passage, And it's always been felt that when legal adult use, recreational cannabis possession got on the ballot, that it'd be an easy, vote. 60% is a high bar. Ohio just did it with 58%. The numbers that I was seeing in the poll, and once again, I don't want to be too far off, but independents only going 53%, towards voting for legal adult use right now. There were surely undecideds in this and that, amongst Republicans, only 34% for legal adult use. Democrats, a little bit higher, up into the 60s, but it was interesting. It was not an overwhelming, So to me, I think there's going to have to be a lot of convincing. Now, here's the point, everybody. More money. You got to follow the money. More money has come in from the MMTCs. Do you know the MMTCs that got in on the consortium? There were about 5 or 6 more MMTCs that have donated money to Smart and Safe. which was originally funded by Trulieve to the tune of 40 some million. And Tiff, I know you can look this up, but you don't need to. It's Verano, I think, and Air, and Curaleaf popped in, and maybe Cresco. I don't want to go too far and get off the rails, but there are others now. So there's going to be a lot more money coming in on the, let's face it, people buy TV ads and this and that, for voting in favor of Amendment 3, which is what it is. Absolutely, there's going to be a vicious campaign on the other side, and wait until we see it. I just showed it on the Facebook thread, everybody. No, the one that got me most pissed off is the cognitive delay for 30 days after.
That's
no, you know what?
That's so something way better than what I have, I guess.
When I first read that at about 3:30 this morning, I was really going to respond specifically to that person. But I've kind of learned not to, because I know.
Don't be the trolls.
No, but 30 days cognitive decline.
Up to 30 days.
30 days after. That's crazy. I wonder how Carl Sagan, feels about that, or Albert Einstein, maybe William Shakespeare. I mean, he had that cannabis in his pipe at Stratford on Avon. But no, so we're going to see, getting back to the campaign, and see, green rooms go so fast. We're going to hear about death from cannabis. Okay, they talk about a 4-year-old that died from solely Delta-8 exposure in, I think it was a House hearing or whatever, but it might have come up more than once. But no one's seen the case. They pulled a study from Florida Atlantic or something, talked about 264 connected cannabis deaths. No other substances were the cause of the death. I mean, we're going to hear the cardiovascular study. We're going to hear driving impairment. We're going to hear about the Disney hotels smelling of cannabis. No, seriously. So it's going to be a vicious campaign. The governor's already kind of been disingenuous about it because, when he says things like he doesn't want the hotels of Florida, smell. Well, no, you can't smoke anything.
Right. That's just common sense and decency.
But the point is they're going to be able to set up regulations of where you can, and things like that. There are a couple events coming up. Flow Fest next week.
Yep.
Port Charlotte, right? Our friend Brian Bueno.
Down at the fairgrounds.
Right. Are there any other specific 420 events necessarily? Because
I know that there's some things.
It's a Saturday. It's interesting. It can be all over.
I know different dispensaries.
Different dispensaries are having this event, whatever. But listen, events are kind of interesting these days. I want to give a good shout out to Gary, who was on last week, and Carlos Hermida and Chris Canos on Coast Normal. They're best at the blunt event, last weekend, I guess, didn't have the attendance, of course, that they, and events are tough.
Yeah.
And I salute the people that have events. I really do. You always put yourself out, and you really do. And it's hard these days. And I don't know if it's COVID or this or that or this, whatever's contributing, to that type of stuff. But I thought there would be a lot kind of more,
a little bit more reaction to it.
But the good news is take advantage of the sales and the discounts and all that's going on in Florida. And I do anticipate to a certain extent that that's going to be the case, on the legal adult use market too. But we don't know. And, it'll be interesting to see. We know one of the things that's going to make the advocates happy, if they can get as we go forward, is that ability to horizontalize the market. Everybody wants the legitimate purveyor,
right?
Wherever they may be, to be able to have that lab tested, safe product that citizens are looking for. It does get scary though when you hear the legislators up in Tallahassee talking about a 200 milligram Advil versus an 800 milligram ibuprofen, right? That's kind of their vision of it. We need to take the positive out of that and keep that medical vision over here. But, when you look at their vision of it, and this does go on in any number of states, Colorado included, 10 milligram edible available on the legal adult use side versus a 50 milligram edible on the medical side, doesn't mean you can't buy 5, but you're going to pay for it. So it is always that kind of monetary balance. We'll just have to see how things shake out, But listen, everybody, enjoy 420. Be safe on 420. Okay. And when I say be safe, I'm not saying be safe because how many times am I going to use this before the vote also? I'm not going to call cannabis overdose. Okay. I'm not going to fall into that trap. Okay. You're going to hear it. Okay. It's an overexposure to cannabinoids that people aren't ready to have yet because they don't want that feeling. Right. And 5-year-olds never smoked a joint, but they'll find moms or grandmas, granddad too, and dad. Why am I going dad that way? Point is, no, listen. Be safe, okay? Don't overexpose anybody to cannabinoids that they don't desire, okay? Also be safe to remember that it's still law enforcement to that extent, that it's still controlling things out there. And if you don't have a card, okay, for sure, use common sense. And if you do have a card, listen, remember there's rules. Carrie, you're the one, that knows more of this than I. Packaging's got to be as it was,
Yep.
right?
I tell patients all the time, keep one of those stickers, keep that empty container if you're going to travel with it, keep it in your glove box in your center console, just so you have something with your name and your prescription on it.
Yeah. And if you want to be extra cautious, put it in your glove box, which is out of reach. Right. I mean, so there are specific rules, know what the rules are in your community, to that extent, be it and listen, we talk about this all the time. It's one of those legislative things, that needs to get taken care of. And there are community associations and of course rules and apartments and, all that. So you got to be respectful, but enjoy the day and enjoy the glory of the day. And the fact that we are so much better off than we were 7 years ago. And listen, keep your eye on the prize to the extent of where we need to be 7 years from now. And I'm so appreciative of Kara and my entire staff for really being here every day to show respect for not only the patients who come in every single day, but the plant as well. It's a great match, and we see it every day. So everybody, we will see you next week in the green room and have an awesome 420.